Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome to episode 38 of Project LS400, which will be the most expensive and most crucial episode in this whole series. So without any further ado, let's get started. So let me get you quickly up to speed. In the last episode I found a leak that caused a water ingress in the interior, and that's a problem that's been plaguing the car for quite some time, I think at least 20 years, and that's probably one of the reasons that the previous owner got rid of this car and why it ended up on a scrapyard basically. So that is a problem that I need to fix. In the summertime I cannot park the car inside, and it rains every now and then, and yeah, the water leakage is a problem for me and for the car. I wanted to replace the windscreen when I repaint the car, but yeah, life gets in the way and getting money is difficult at this moment. So if I want to enjoy this car, if I want to drive it, I need to solve that leak, and I had two options. I find a leak and put some RTV in there, something like that, but it will rust further and further, or I replace the windscreen now. Long story short, I hunted down a windscreen. There was only one left in the Netherlands, and unfortunately it doesn't have the right tint. My windows have a bronze tint, and that windscreen that I have been able to trace down has a blue tint with a blue sunband in the top, but beggars can be choosers, so we have to do with it. It took me a full day to get hold of that windscreen, and luckily the company that supplies it is very close by, and in fact they reinstall and install windscreens at your location, so they come to your home. And in all honesty, we're already halfway post effect, because if you have a good eye for detail, you can see that the windscreen is already out. I had some issues with the microphone. It seems to be an ongoing theme on this channel. But anyway, I'm gonna get you up to speed in a montage and show you what needs to be done and what has to be done in order to get the windscreen out. So here comes a quick montage. So it's a week later, and about to start to get rid of all those glue remnants, and I have to get rid of all the rust. The guy that's going to install the windscreen advised me to use a flapper disc and to grind it down to bare metal. But I'm working in a family farmhouse, and this farmhouse burned down to the ground about 100 years ago. They have to rebuild it, and that has had such an impact on the family history that it's absolutely forbidden to work with tools that cause sparks in here. It's always a bad idea to do that in these older buildings, and I'm not going to use a grinder. If I have to grind, I'm going to use sandpaper and do it by hand. What I will try to do, I bought a kit of those, these are brass brushes for the drill, and some hand brushes to get rid of most of this, see how that works, and if it doesn't work I have to grind it out by hand. I'm also going to remove the covers for the A-pillars. I think I showed in an earlier episode how that is done. If I can find it, I'll put a link up there in the corner. And then I'm putting a cloth in here to prevent all the dirt getting in here. So I'm going to do that off camera. Alrighty, all prepped and ready. So this old curtain in. I want to see if I can get this glue out. I can tell that if it gets up to temperature, it peels off, well, I wouldn't say quite easily, but it will peel off and cause a big mess, but that's the way it is. and I can already see where the previous guy that cut out the original window, he had damaged the paint. There are scratch marks under here from cutting it out. So I'm going ahead and I'll pick you up once I have the area clean. Otherwise it will be a long boarding process. I think it'll take me at least 3 hours. So see you in the next scene. And I won't be as clean as I am right now, I think. Okay folks, it's an hour and 20 minutes later and I'm done cleaning the entire frame of the windscreen. So it went faster as expected. The trick seems to be that you have to let the brush warm up a little bit, so rub it over the glue, it gets soft, and then it just wipes off. It gives a lot of mess, but it comes fairly easily. The problematic part was the top section of the windscreen frame. It's heavily corroded, so it's spitted and all. There is one pinhole in there, and I think I saw that 2 years ago when I first addressed that. But anyway, I'm gonna pick the camera up and show you in a close-up how things look. So this is the side section, the A-pillar. Sorry for the glare, but I needed a little bit of light. But you can see it's heavily corroded. And let's walk over to the other side. This is the passenger side corner, and yeah, I sanded this a little bit. There was a little bit too much filler over there. You can see there is a little bit of a gap, and there is a pinhole, and over there, will the camera show it? Just above my finger is another pinhole. Now I said I cannot weld here or make anything or do work that sparks, so I think I'm gonna put in some epoxy filler on there. We're a couple of days later and I wanted to give you an update. After I removed the glue from the windscreen frame, I got my electric sander out and used 80 to 200 grit to get things to bare metal, to smoothen out. There were some little rust spots on the sides, on the A-pillars, and I wanted to see if I could get the top edge of the windscreen frame to bare metal, but that would mean I had to sand away so much material that it would lose its structural integrity. So what I did, I just sanded it down to get it as clean as I could. Then I wiped everything off with brake clean, and then I started applying the Brunox rust reformer or rust converter, and that seems to be doing a very good job. Currently I have 2 coats on, and I think it's already good enough to put the windscreen in, but just for good measure I'm gonna apply a 3rd layer only on the top edge of the windscreen, and after that is dried I want to see if I can put a little bit of primer on the leading edge. I'll show you in a minute with the camera up close, so I have a good base for the color paint of the car. And also on top of the roof there was a little spot. I saw some little rust bubbling, and there was an old rust spot underneath the filler that started to live again. Anyway, I'm going to pick up the camera and show you what things look like after 2 coats of rust converter. So in this lower section down here, we're at the driver's side. I could sand it down to bare metal. Actually, this is the result of the brass brush in the drill. Going along the A-pillar, there were some minor rust bubbles over here, and you can see on this section here there was bare metal. Now it's coated with epoxy primer and rust converter, and this is the top edge. You can see it's very bubbly. Now this appears to be in the top section, looks a little bit rusty, but that's the old red oxide primer shining through. Now this is already thoroughly covered, but since this area was the most affected and I don't want to miss a single spot, I'm gonna apply a 3rd coat. And over here on the roof, in this section over here, rust started to bubble a little bit again, and now I have to repaint this entire front section. It is what it is. And the biggest problem in this workplace here in the farmhouse is that I don't have really much light, so I've been thinking about installing an extra light over here, but I have to consult with my brother-in-law. But it would be nice, especially for painting, to have some extra lights over here. I still have some in the old workshop where I worked earlier on the car. Nice and thick coat on here. I'm just applying it with a cheap brush, and I think with 3 coats of this primer / converter on here, this should, in theory at least, never brushed again. I'm also trying to cover this standing edge in the corner especially. And I must say I'm actually surprised by how well this stuff cures. I expected it to take a couple of weeks actually. This stuff is real sticky once it comes out of this little jar. After 10 minutes or so, it's really sticky. It's almost like tree resin. Once you have that on your hands, yeah, it sticks for days, and you need real good soap or a good solvent to get it off. Same with this stuff, but after a day, it's already dry to the touch. And according to what I have read about this stuff, it's ready to process further, and it says in the manual that if you're going to paint it, you should apply a primer. This only acts as an insulation layer, a converter for rust, so nothing more than a base coat. So you do need an extra layer of primer, and I think I'm going to stick with a red oxide primer from a rattle can. So after every coat I checked with a work lamp to see if I have good coverage, and that appears to be the case, especially looking in this corner over here. I'm just looking for dull spots. It should be shiny. See a tiny little dull spot over there. I'm gonna brush it over once more. Move over to the other side. And I've done a better job on this side. So I'm just gonna give it a couple of wipes on the passenger side, and just using the reflection of the lamp to see if there are any dull spots. Where there are dull spots, I'm gonna give it an extra brush. Well, once this third layer is dried and completely cured, the windscreen is ready to go back in, and I am kind of eager to put the windscreen in. I know I have to paint the leading edge of the windscreen, especially I have some cosmetic work, some fillering and primering to do on the top there, but I want to have the windscreen in so I can put the car out into the rain if necessary. Reason being, the family farmhouse also acts as a storage for boats and caravans, and it's early March right now, and I expect the owners of boats and caravans to want their stuff out. And yeah, the Lexus needs to be rolled outdoors to give enough way to maneuver with all that stuff. But on the other hand, I also don't want to rush things, so I need some time to think what's the best order of business from now on. And my plan is to cover up this top section, say this horizontal surface where the glue is put on, to cover that with painter's tape and apply a couple of coats of primer, maybe body color on there, and from there I can make the roof look decent again by painting it, but I can't do that with the windscreen in. At least that's the idea. So for you it's the next scene, and I really don't know how much time later it is, but last week I spent a lot of time sanding, primering, painting, sanding, applying filler and whatnot. The temperatures were better than they were today, but anyway, everything is now color coded, and I came to the conclusion that I will never be a bodywork and paint guy, because no matter how hard I try, it looks like crap. But that's not the point. The most important thing is that this leading edge now is covered in plenty coats of paint, and I really do hope, and I expect it not to rust again. I will peel off the paint and then show you close-up details of my paint results. Honestly, it should be something I should be ashamed for, and the odd thing is I really looked at the color code on my rattle can, and I used the exact same color code that I used the previous time I painted the rooftop. That was in August 2023, I believe. I rewatched that video and just double checked if I had the right color code, and the color matching was quite good. Was not right there, but now it seems to be a bit more off, but you'll see in a second. Oh, there's geese coming by. Anyway, I'm gonna set up the camera, I'm gonna peel off the tape and give you a close-up look on the end result. And please don't laugh at me. So, I used this blanket to cover up the roof. Now, as always, you get a little bit of overspray where you get some strange results where the new clear coat overlaps the old clear coat, and I need to wet sand that, and I'm gonna polish it then. I've done the same the last time I painted the roof. And on a side note, really spend money on good masking tape, because what I had was cheap one and it tears easily and it leaves a lot of residue, so I think I have a lot of time. I need a lot of time to clean all of the masking tape residue off. But yeah, that's a lesson learned. Look, this is good quality masking tape and you can pull it off without it breaking. But even in this light, in these poor light conditions, I can see there's a little bit of a color difference, but oh well. This is a bit thin, piece of plastic. It's almost, it's thicker than a tape. But anyway, this sits on top of this leading edge and it has to be glued in. There was some glue residue and I cleaned it to the best of my abilities. And if I need to clean it a bit more thorough, but I'm afraid I will poke through. And this is also a piece that's just like the trim piece that's not available anymore. But I do have a good tip for you, and I think I picked this up from Curtis at Cutting Edge Engineering, and I think it's just brilliant. Now I can glue this in. I used double-sided adhesive the last time, but the adhesive, that sticky part of the tape, really works into the paint in the clear coat, and it all came off. I'm pretty sure I gave it a good coating the last time, but when I pulled this off, I pulled everything off. Now here comes the tip. Instead of using glue or double-sided adhesive, I'm gonna use RTV. It sticks just as well, and the big benefit of this is when you peel it off, or when you need to peel it off, it comes off very easily. And if I have a little bit of overspill, which I will probably have on the top side, once the RTV has cured, can just peel it off. So I'm gonna use this instead of double-sided adhesive or any type of glue. Just see how this works. I'm gonna apply a little thin film. Just put it over with my finger. No matter how hard I try, this will be messy. So let's see if we can reduce that to the bare minimum. Still is a little bit springy. Just try to make sure that doesn't get all over the place. That doesn't look too shabby. Gonna make sure that's nice and straight. That's important. Okay, I think that will do just fine. This tape end I'm gonna glue in later with a little bit of glue, and that's it. So let me pick up the camera and give you a quick oversight of my poor paintwork. So with a light on may give a little bit of glare. You can see the strip over here. Also there's a lot of RTV gooping out on the back, but that's not important. The strip is now in, it's seated nicely on the leading edge, but over here you can see where I taped it off, so I'm gonna have to wet sand this and then gonna blend it in using my my polisher. And the color, you can clearly see there's a difference, even though I used the exact same rattle can. So this and this should be the same. Over here you can see a little, it's very dirty, but this is the old layer that I put on, and this is the original coat. So paint is terrible, but it is what it is. But anyway, now we're at least ready to put a windscreen in. Now the next step for me is to call the windscreen guy and ask if he has time to put it in. I hope we can do it within a couple of weeks. But I want to end this video right here. I hope you learned something. That's at least my process. Don't do the paintwork as I do, but for all the rest you now know what things you need to take off to remove a windscreen, and what you need to do if you have rust on the windscreen frame. Anyway, I hope you liked following me along, and if you did, just let me know by giving me a like, maybe subscribe to my channel, and if you have any questions or constructive feedback, let me know down below in the comment section. I try to answer all your questions on the LS400. I can only give you advice. I'm not an expert, but there seems to be a little info. There was a lot of info on the LS400, but slowly that seems to disappear from the internet. So I tried to recapture all of that by making these videos. But anyway, if it was helpful to you and if you would like to help support the channel, you can do so by buying me a coffee, and for that I leave the link down below in the description box. For now, I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next episode of Project LS400. Bye!